St. Thomas, August 2025. Brought the truck in for an oil change this morning, and to kill time while I was doing it, brought my bicycle in the back of the truck and just riding around. It's pretty quiet. Feels like August. Not much going on. Where I am right now is an elevated former rail line. I think it might have been Chesapeake and Ohio. No, this would have been the New York Central. Chesapeake and Ohio was over there. Anyway, it's kind of nice up here. I remember walking across this as a kid when it was the train tracks, and you're always keeping your eyes open and your ears in case there were any trains coming. This used to be the rail city, but they tore up most of the tracks. There's Chesapeake and Ohio, New York Central. Let's see what else. Well, there's CNCP. I think that still exists. The London and Port Stanley, which is long gone. I'm trying to think of how many train tracks there was. Anyway, there's always a lot of trains coming through town. That's one of my memories. One of my great memories is living probably a kilometer away from the New York Central tracks, hearing those trains in the middle of the night. Because when they were coming into town or leaving town, they would blow their midnight horn. So the sound of large diesel engines and train horns just completely takes me back to being a kid, laying in my bunk beds at 41 Fairview Avenue. So I'm going to ride around today, have a look at a few things. I already came down Talbot Street and was noting how much had changed since I was here as a young man. I guess like all cities, most cities in North America anyway, the downtown died as the suburbs grew and the malls arrived. So downtown St. Thomas is okay. It's struggling. It's a very long street for the size of the city. Very long main drag in St. Thomas, Ontario. But that had to do with the railroads because the street went in the same direction, east-west. You had tracks to the north and tracks to the south. But I was thinking I've changed a lot, obviously, as we all do. And the town's changed a lot. So change is inevitable. Dealing with it is sometimes easy, sometimes not. But we have no choice, right? So Mr. Profound here. One thing I did notice though, because I've been doing a lot of these videos, is when I talk to the camera, my bottom teeth kind of show up a lot. And I was noticing in a video that they were looking pretty ratty. And then I read in the New York Times last week that as you get older, your teeth, especially your bottom teeth in the front, especially in men, start to go out of alignment as things move. So yes, I got crooked teeth on the bottom, straight on the top. So it's kind of weird. So I hope I don't gross you out as much as I gross myself out by looking at my teeth being all crooked. The vanities of an old man. Not that old, just turned 68. Had a great birthday party, as usual. Barbie put on a great spread, fantastic food, had a few friends. And the next event coming up is Miranda getting married. Apparently it's going to happen in our backyard by the Rio Bubba. And there'll be just a few people there. And her sisters won't be there, and her mother won't be there, because I guess I'm what is it now? It's been almost 16 years. I guess I'm still evil and dangerous. That's me. I got a lot of power tools in that shed. Anyway, they're just idiots. And I feel sorry because someone said to me the other day, they said, people are always asking me, well, those girls, they got to come back into your life. And I'm like, I don't think I could handle it. Also because I couldn't trust it. So if you open your heart up again, but you've been burned that badly, and then to get burned again, that would be stupid. But someone said the other day, well, it's probably just as well, because if they sided with their mother, they're probably going to end up like her. And there's lots of definitions for her. But the best I can come up with these days is educated hick from a highly dysfunctional family in Exeter, Ontario. I think that was her biggest worry, is that she would always be perceived as stupid, because she knew she wasn't stupid, but she came from such a hick, dysfunctional, Pentecostal family that she kind of wears that around all the time. And I think her father did stuff too. I don't know what, but you can't hate men as much as she does, and not have some shit going on like that. Anyway, what else was I going to say about that? Anyway, they're not coming to Miranda's wedding, but that's okay. Fair trade. Because I didn't get to go to Olivia's wedding or Hannah's wedding. And I have a grandchild with Olivia. Olivia has a child now, a little girl, born, I think, maybe 6 or 7 months ago. I haven't seen her. Nobody told me about her. I just kind of learned through the wind. And this is a grandchild that I'll probably never see. You know, it's just the tragedy of it all. It just unfolds. There's a new chapter all the time, the one you didn't expect, the one that you kind of thought about, but you didn't know what it was until it actually arrived. To have grandchildren that you'll never see. Because as old folks, you know, we kind of thrive on the grandchildren. Anyway, so Miranda may have kids too, plans to have kids. So those kids are going to grow up, and not that they're going to care too much, but there will be discussion about the family dynamic, and Miranda's grandchildren, or Miranda's children, which would be my grandchildren, would say, oh, Grandpa Steve, you know, he's funny, blah, blah, blah. We love Grandpa Steve. And Olivia's kids, and Hannah's kids, if she has any, are going to say, who is this guy? And then they might talk about it, but it's just going to be more confusion as to what the hell happened to create such a dysfunctional mess. One other thing before I go. Isn't it beautiful out here? And quiet, too. Oh, God, I love it out here. But one other thing I was thinking about. Someone sent me a piece the other day about how tragic it was of somebody who lost a child. And, you know, there was the mea culpa, there was the story, there was the tragedy. Everybody loves to read about the tragedy, the confessions, the drug addicts, the whatever, all the stuff that people love to talk about. And of course I feel sorry for anybody who's lost a child. I know people who have lost children. But I think I can one-up that. Not that this is a competition, but try losing your children who are still alive. It would be easier to accept and easier to digest had they really died. But basically they are dead in my life, but they're still alive, and I know it. And that keeps the rocks churning, because you know they're out there. The other thing is, as you get older, you expect that maybe something will happen, or you did along the way, and then you realize that too much has been lost. Too much time has gone by. Too many minutes, too many phone calls, too many get-togethers, too many dinners, too many hours have been lost. And, well, like I said, I'm 68, who knows? I may have another 10 years, another 5, I could have another 3 days. But you really can't fill that gap. At least in my mind. Maybe some people could. You know, they always talk about the prodigal son. How about the prodigal daughters? To embrace them with open arms after they go off and do their thing. I don't know. I don't think I could do it. Pretty sure I couldn't do it. Not that anybody gives a shit, but especially them, because I'm apparently to blame. But the amount of hurt, it fucking hurts, man. Still hurts. Still hurts today. Although I've managed my life and I have other things to keep me going. But that thing in life, every once in a while, something will come up. I'll see like a happy family with kids or whatever, a dad doing something, and I'm like, wow. They don't know how lucky they are. Or maybe they're not. I don't know. So, the tour of St. Thomas continues. Say goodbye to this beautiful spot. Goodbye. Okay, same day, standing out in front of the home I grew up in at 41 Fairview Avenue in St. Thomas, Ontario, N5R, N5R 4X7, something like that. Anyway, no longer our house. I was thinking about how it was home, even though I left a long, long time ago, but it was always home. And you have in the back of your mind that there's always that last resort, that last place you can go if all else fails. And I know that doesn't happen with everybody, because like Barb, she was born in the Yukon, grew up in Northern Ontario in Manitowoc, and then in Labrador, and then in Ottawa, all in rented houses. And she never had anything like a family home. Well, it was a family home, but not like what I had. You know, this solid piece of land, which was this piece of land right there, was where I grew up. And right behind us here is my grandparents. So my grandparents owned all the land around here. And then that's my cousins there on the other side. And there's actually, or there used to be, don't know if there's any more, but there used to be a sidewalk joining these three houses together. And it was like a highway back there. There were 5 kids at my aunt and uncle's and 4 kids here, mom and dad, a pile of dogs and cats. It was like a little super highway back there between the 3 properties, and it was never a no-go zone. It was just, the 3 houses, we all went there. So anyway, I could probably stand here and bore you to tears, and bore myself to tears too, with all these stories about being here forever and ever and ever. My first days in this family spent in this house in 1957. And you'll notice it's very busy now, the road. See, we got the 4-lane here. It used to be just kind of a 2-lane blacktop, kind of an oiled gravel road when we were growing up. And that meant our front yard was a lot bigger. But anyway, yeah, we could go on and on and on about the stories here. But this is my home. This is where I spent a good portion of my life, and a part of my life which I reflect upon a fair bit these days. I think there's some people who are able to leave the past in the past. But for me, it's a continuum. Everything is linked together with threads, and see, I'm trying to show my good teeth, not my bad teeth. Trying to get the angle right. Can't get the angle right. Anyway, it's a continuum for me anyway, because, and maybe this is why I should have been a writer, because everything is linked together with these little translucent threads, these like fishing line. Everything holds together. I can attach this to this to this to this. I don't know why I do that. It's just the way I'm hardwired. I know some people leave their childhood home or their hometown and it's left in the past. But for me, maybe because I was looking for something then, and maybe I'm still looking for it, And in those threads that hold everything together, maybe that's what keeps me looking in the rearview mirror. Although I'm not overly nostalgic. I have gotten more nostalgic as I've gotten older, because I have time to be nostalgic, and I kind of do miss the old days. That's what happens when your world changes. My world changed so much, as does everybody's, and you kind of miss it. You kind of miss your culture of what you had when you were a kid. But the biggest thing, I think, is these damn phones. Ever since the digital revolution came on, there's just a complete different vibe to everything that goes on. We're so attached, and there's so much information. We're over communicating. I don't have social media anymore. I got off it because it didn't seem to be productive, didn't seem to be helping anything, and I don't miss it. I've been off for about 6 months or so, and it doesn't mean a thing. I'm actually trying to have slower and more intentional and more positive interactions with humans face to face. Did that this morning. Met a couple of ladies out for a walk. We had a little chit chat, and it just felt better to talk to somebody. Just have a nothing conversation about this and that. It was great. But anyway, there's home. I spent the first 18 years of my life there. So I left in 1976, as soon as I was done high school, but came back and came back and came back. One thing, because I'm adopted, and even though my parents did the best they could, as all parents do, most parents should anyways, and failed miserably, like all parents do, I do have regrets, and if I could change things, the one thing I would have done is when I left here, I should have disconnected. I should have really just gone away and never been in touch with anybody, because this was not my tribe. Mom and Dad were not my tribe. They were very different people. My dad said, be a welder or go in the army. That's the best advice he could give me. There was absolutely zero mention of post-secondary education. I took that upon myself later to pursue that. But this was not my tribe. I'm artistic. I'm articulate. My mind works differently. I'm very different than what they were, and same with my siblings. I had 3 siblings, a brother and 2 sisters. My mother put it succinctly later in life. She said, because I know she gave up on it, and she was, completely disappointed with the way it all turned out. Having 4 adopted children and dogs, and my dad off working all the time, and her having to pick up the ball constantly, and et cetera on that. I mean, there was a time even where they were going to split up because my dad wanted her paycheck to go into his business. That was a line in the sand for her. But my mom said later in life, she said, we were like 6 satellites orbiting the world, all in a completely different orbit. And that's exactly what it was. It's a great metaphor. Dougie, my alcoholic brother, Ruth, who was trouble from the get-go, in and out of the house, group homes, living with people, married to a guy, then a lesbian later on, alcoholic, glue sniffer, gas sniffer, living in the forest now up in northern Ontario, who knows what, no teeth. And then Marie, who was just a nice, sweet, simple girl. So simple that she tended to lie a lot to cover up things she didn't want to explain, or things she didn't know how to explain, or behaviors that she knew wouldn't sit well with the rest of us. Anyway, oh God, what a tribe. Not a tribe. Satellites. Remember that. Satellites. So after Mom left here and she went in the home, I kind of vowed never to drive down this street again. And I didn't for a few years because I had to visit her in Aylmer. So there wasn't much need to really come here. But then I decided, screw it. Again, everything's still attached. It's just the house. Oh, my dad built that house too. He and Mom actually built it. Jimmy built everything. He was a DIY guy. And it was never finished. Just like my grandfather's house. Never finished. This guy's never finished anything. Anyway, it's pretty noisy. I'm sure the sound quality on this is crap. And because all the traffic is making too much noise here, and I don't really know what else to say. But I did want to drop by while I was biking around today to show you where I grew up at 41 Fairview Avenue in St. Thomas, Ontario. Oh, they're just like us, the people who bought it. Freaking boats and trucks and shit all over the place. That's the kind of house I grew up in. And that was my best friend's house right there. Danny Moore, next to Ab Tier, the Catchpoles, the Lees. Yeah. Okay, more later. Okay, here's another point. Here's another point of interest here. Right behind me, this is the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Visitors welcome on Elm Street in St. Thomas. And my grandmother was a Mormon, took me to this church quite a bit when I was a little gaffer. So I learned about Mormonism and the Book of Mormon. I actually went to the hill at Cumorah in upstate New York where Jonathan Smith, or whatever his name was, had his house, and where he got the golden tablets from the angel Gabriel. And then the angel Gabriel said, no, you can't keep those tablets. I'm taking them with me. But here, write down the stuff that's on them. And that becomes your Book of Mormon. So, yeah, a likely story. But anyway, I was in a rock and roll band with the Butterwick brothers, who were Mormons. Todd on guitar, Drew on bass, Billy Higgs on drums, Richard Herbert too for a while, and Brian Sesnick playing keyboards. And we used to practice in this church. This is where the band got its start. and we never did have a finish. But we had a lot of fun. Garage band, church band, whatever you want to call it. And let's see, I think we knew 6 songs, so we play them over and over again. It's like Joe's Garage. He had a Stratocaster with a whammy bar. Down and down and down and down and down and down and down. But we'd say, like, okay, well, what do you want to do now? Let's do Smoke on the Water again. Dun 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 dun. We did Goodbye to Jane. Slade. We did Move Over, which we thought was a Slade song, but I found out later Janis Joplin also did it, and I don't know who wrote it. We did Behind Blue Eyes by The Who, and a couple Alice Cooper songs, including Be My Lover. She struts into the room, but I don't know her. But with a magnifying glass, I just sort of looked her over. We had a drink or 2, or maybe 3. And then suddenly she starts telling me her life story. She said, baby, if you wanna be my lover, you better take me home, 'cause it's a long, long way to paradise, and I'm so far from home. Anyway, Mormon church, rock and roll, part of my life. Next. Okay, the next part of the story is birth. August 9th, 1957. My mother, Margaret Rayson, 18, maybe 19 years old. She is pregnant. She's sitting on the beach at Rondeau, on the lakeside at Rondeau Provincial Park. She's there with the family of a doctor who she was living with at the time, because pregnant youngsters back then had to be tucked away, hidden. So somehow she was arranged. It was arranged because she was living in London at the time, that she would live with this doctor in St. Thomas. Don't know who it was. Apparently he lived in Lyndhurst. But anyway, so she's sitting on the beach, August 9th, 1957, and her water breaks. She goes into labor. The doctor, who she was staying with, puts her in the car, drives her I don't know, what is it, 50 miles? 50 miles here to St. Thomas Elgin General Hospital, which has expanded massively since I was born here. But apparently I was born at about 7:30 at night, and it had already been predetermined that I was being put up for adoption. The first moment of my, what do they call this stuff? See, you start losing your words when you get older. Separation anxiety, separation whatever. So she told me when I finally tracked her down when I was 22 years old and we caught up on things, she told me that she had me here at the hospital and she was allowed to spend about a half an hour with me. So I probably suckled a booby for a few minutes, and then I was whisked away and became Farmer's Baby John, whatever. Her last name was Rayson, so I guess they called me John Rayson. And from there, I was transferred to what they called a Quaker baby home. Apparently there was a Quaker lady, lived out near Sparta on a farm, and she took in unwanted children while they waited to be adopted or fostered or whatever. And so I spent the first 3 months of my life from August 9th, 57 till November 2nd or 3rd, 1957 with this lady, and then I was adopted by Jim and Doreen Matthews at 41 Fairview Avenue. But anyway, the scene of the crime. Oh, by the way, my real father, my biological father, was a guy named Bruce Thomas Martin, and he had his wife pregnant at the same time as he had my mother, his young girlfriend, pregnant. I think he was around 30-ish, and she was 18 or 19, so he was a philanderer. But I'll tell you the story later on about his wife's child who showed up in my life later. It's crazy, crazy, crazy. Anyway, Bruce Thomas Martin, Margaret Rayson, me, born here. He wanted her to get an abortion. He actually had set it up. She was going to go to an East London motel where I was going to be scraped. And she actually went there but couldn't go in. She just couldn't go through with it. So, those fateful moments. I could have been never, but I ended up ever. Thanks, Bruce. Never did meet that guy. I think I saw him once, though. I think he called me when I was on the radio a couple times, too. Did know Margaret, but we can talk about her later. But St. Thomas Elgin General Hospital. Oh, this is also where I got my arm fixed when I broke my arm, and when I got the 18 stitches in my head, when I got the 12 stitches in the right cheek of my butt, and what else? Well, I got my tonsils out here, various stuff. Got checked out for a heart attack. Mom and Dad were both in here different times. Obviously, it's the local hospital, the only hospital, and so a lot of shit happened here. Bye. It's amazing how much noise there is in the world we live in. You got the tractors, the cars, the people, the dogs. I was just looking for a nice quiet spot to talk to my phone. This is Pinafore Park, St. Thomas, Ontario. One of two parks that we had here that we would go to for picnics and for all kinds of other things as life went on. So I guess there used to be a playground over there, a very very dangerous playground that my grandmother used to bring us to all the time. Monkey bars that went up high, made out of steel if you fell. The world had not yet been bubble wrapped for children, and that's how we learn to survive. And that's how the children of today are not going to survive. Anyway, that's another subject. I was thinking maybe I should call myself Parenthetical Steve, because I start in one road, and I notice this when I write too. In the middle of the sentence, there's always a parenthetical somewhere, because there's an aside, there's a background, there's a observation, there's an editorial, there's a colorful description in the middle of everything, in the middle of the story. So call me Parenthetical Steve if you want to. My life seems to be a parenthetical. It's going in one direction, then something happens in the middle, and there's a big gap. There's a left turn into oblivion. It's kind of like when I ride a motorcycle. That road looks kind of cool. I'm gonna turn left. 2 days later, I'm in Wyoming. Actually, it wasn't a day. It was about a day. Almost a day I was in Wyoming, but I think I've told that story already. So Pinafore Park, came here with grandmother. Playgrounds all over the place, pretty big park. And over here, just across the way there, where that building is, that all used to be like rows of cedar trees. It's like somebody decided to plant rows of cedar trees and then never really figured out what to do with them. They just grew and grew and grew. So it was a scary little grid of cedar trees. The first time I drank beer was in there, who knows, 13, 14 years old, something like that. Max Hannett bought a case of beer for us at the Brewers Retail at the corner of First and Wellington, and we gave him a $5 for it. It was $4.45 for the beer, for 24 beers, Molson Canadian, and he got 55 cents. That was his fee, which was enough to buy a pack of smokes back then. So Dan, Al, and I somehow came up with $5, and then we walked. I don't know how the hell we got out here. I'm pretty sure we walked and carried the case of beer out here. It would be a couple of miles. So of course, by the time we got here, it was piss warm. Molson Canadian into stubby bottles. And we took it back here into the cedar trees, sat down with it, hot summer night, humid, lots of mosquitoes, lots of bugs, and very dark. Very dark was a good thing because it was my first taste of beer. It was warm, it was Molson Canadian, and I just thought it tasted like shit. But I had to be cool, and I had to maintain. It was about Dan and Al. They'd had beer before, and Al grew up in a family of beer drinkers, alcoholics actually, of which I think he was one too, later. But so I would pretend to swig back my beer, and then when they're not looking, I'd put it kind of like down here at the side, and I'd be dumping it out next to me. Horrible stuff, horrible. Then there's a gravel pit back here behind the park. It was Axford's gravel pit. Just thought of it now. That's where I had my first beers, where I got sick. The son of the gravel pit owner, Jay Axford, took me back there. We had a 12-pack, probably the same thing, Labatt's Blue or Molson Canadian. We went back on his motorcycle. He had a Honda 554. Went up on this little hill of dirt that had a tree on it, and we're drinking beer. And how old am I then? Maybe 15 or 16. Anyway, I get totally pissed on 2 or 3 beers, whatever I had. And he rides me back to his house, which was at the front of the gravel pit. And he's going to take me home in the car because I can't really sit on the back of the motorcycle. I'm just too wasted. So he runs in the house to get the keys to the car and leaves me outside, and I'm leaning up against the wall just as his parents, Ken and whatever his wife's name, Axford, drove in the laneway, and they saw me there, and that was when I lurched from the bottom of my belly and threw up all over their front step. Jay came out just at that time, and his mom and dad said, "What's this, Steve Matthews? What's wrong with Jim's boy, Steve Matthews?" And Jay says, "Oh, he's got the flu. He came down with the flu very quickly, so I'm going to give him a ride home." I never thought about it, but I'm pretty sure his parents didn't buy that one. Anyway, he drove me home. By the time I got there, I was at least capable to go in the house and fall asleep or whatever, but that was my first experience with beer and barf. Beer first, barf second. Thanks, Jay. But back to Pinafore Park here, where I am right now. So many things happen here. We used to have a disc golf course here. We played disc golf. I used to bring my kids here all the time to a playground just over there. And I've got some great video of them at the playground when they were little. Of course, rolling along here, thinking that, well, even though my ex-wife went off with the pastor, had an affair and all that other stuff and blah, blah, I thought, well, I'm doing a pretty good job here of being a dad on the side, because she had custody, right? She did the deed. She still got custody. Anyway, don't get me started on that shit now. But I brought the kids here all the time because it was a fun place to go, and they loved it here. There were deer over there. There was the playground. There's the little Pinafore pond over there. There used to be a train back here. Went around and around. We went on that a couple of times. Just a part of the tour. Yep, just a part of the tour. And what is the compulsion that I would even do these videos? Well, I heard on a radio show a while back about some Star Trek episode in which the sentiment in the episode was of a dying race, or of a people on a planet who were about to be no more. The only thing that the message they left is they just wanted to leave the thoughts, the words, the impressions to someone else, someone they would never even know, someone in the future, someone far away, that they did exist. And I think I understand that very well. What else is there than to say that I existed to whomever? I know that the religious people have got that all sorted out because they're their little thing and their dogma and their trajectory. Speaking of Mormons, spirit, prison, and celestial kingdom. Kind of like the Catholics, purgatory. But anyway, I don't believe any of that stuff. So, but what I do believe is that there should be something. It doesn't have to be, but it seems like there should be something after here, and perhaps what we do here determines that. But I would rather leave that all in the realm of let's wait and see. Let's wait and see what this actually is. Maybe we get a big surprise at the end. Maybe that surprise we will never be aware of because we never remember this life. And whoever we are, or the energy and all that other sci-fi stuff goes off in some other direction. But the bottom line, the fact of the matter is we have no idea who we are, or why we're here, or how big the universe is, or what this is all about. I mean, humans come up with their own little logic about this all the time, and I have participated in some of that. Religion, philosophy, etc. But as I said, I would prefer to leave it in the realm of let's just wait and see. We kind of innately know some rights and wrongs, and those have been codified in those religions I talked about. So what we do here may have some significance. I'm sure it does. But these videos, the words I wrote, the art I did, the lyrics I wrote when I was a kid, which were stupid. It's all just kind of to put a little stamp on it to say, I existed. I was here. And then you later on in life realize that your time is a speck, your life is insignificant, mostly. But maybe not, I don't know. But it seems insignificant. And it goes by very quickly. So, I just keep talking and talking and talking and talking. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever, but thanks for listening. I love you. I'll try to speak quietly here because there's people around here and kids having fun, but this is a little playground where I used to bring the girls all the time, and I don't think that's actually the swing, but it may be. But I used to push them in that thing all the time, all three of them, and they would scream their heads off, higher, higher. So much fun. This is something new for me anyway. Wasn't here when I was a kid. We've got a path here along the railroad tracks cutting through the center of the city. Oh my God, and this is where Alma College used to be. Holy smokes, I think it's where Alma College used to be. Alma College burned down, but look at that. Yeah, it's where Alma College used to be. All girls school, beautiful building, stunning building. A bunch of skid marks burned it down. Skids with matches. Bad mix. Anyway, this is a nice bike path. And that's fun. Oh God, there's all kinds of stuff down here now. Maybe the world's not so terrible after all. Because you're building stuff. We're tearing down stuff, building stuff, and moving forward. Elgin Co-op right over there. What it is now. Dad used to get his lumber there. Okay, coming up to, I'm gonna keep going here because this is my church. It's the church I went to every Sunday as a kid. There it is. Yeah, it was called, what is it? Central United Church. Oh God, I hated that place. I would sneak out of the pew every once in, probably every week, just go walk around in the hallways of the church because it bored me to tears. I couldn't stand the picky suit that I had to wear with the clip-on tie. Dad falling asleep, Dad singing next to me. Oh, that was always a treat. Dad fell asleep through every sermon, forever and ever. It was like the joke. Why do you go to church, Dad? Because I need some rest. Anyway, a whole bunch of marriages there too. Cousins, all kinds of people got married there that I knew. I didn't get married there. I don't know, maybe I did. I was in a fashion show there once as a little boy, like probably 5 or 6. My mom sticks me in this fashion show. It's all little girls and me and another guy, and they put us in the bathrooms and put us in little outfits and send us out on the runway. It's no wonder I messed up the things that I had to do as a kid. Anyway, Central United Church. Yeah. That's why so many things